Hey guys, and welcome to yet another episode of the SAF podcast. Kind of like slipped there a little bit. And we are in episode number 65. At some point, we probably should stop numbering the episodes, or probably I should stop numbering the episodes. Imagine if we get to the 1000th episode. 1085th episode of SAF podcast. But anyway, so how was your day?
Been pretty good.
Yeah.
Just looking to dive into Kalam.
Yeah. I don't know why I went into small talk there. I've been having a good day. Thank you for asking.
I live with you, so I know that you have a good day.
Yeah, we're flatmates right now. So, in the last episode, what were we talking about?
Yeah, so we started our proper dive into natural theology, arguments for God's existence. We looked at the group of cosmological argument, Aquinas cosmological argument, Leibnizian cosmological argument, Kalam cosmological argument. We looked at the nature of the argument. We looked at the history where we got the name. The word Kalam stands for speech in Arabic. So Dr. Craig named it Kalam in sort of like a tip of the hat.
Yeah,
to
to the
medieval,
Islam.
medieval Islamic theologians and for the work that they did. And so that's where we are. So right now we are going to get into the proper premise one of the Kalam cosmological argument. What does the premise one say?
Okay, so premise one says everything that begins to exist has a cause.
There you go.
Let's go. Okay. Yes, it is. It is a simple argument. Once you say it once, it actually sticks in your head.
Yeah.
So everyone at home, say the first two premises and the conclusion. So everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Hence, the universe had a cause. I'm really excited right now. You guys, if you just say it once, it'll stick in your head. Right. So what are we going to do with these premises?
So we're going to start with premise one. I'm just going to try and unpack it.
Right.
So the first thing that we need to unpack would be the word cause. Right. We use it colloquially with the word because and cause. When we type in text.
Right.
Can't come cause I'm lazy and all that.
Right.
Stuff.
But it's not that cause because that is.
That is because.
Yeah.
But then again, the underlying principle is same, right? I can't come because. So my current state is brought upon by something else.
Right.
I can't come because I'm unwell. Right. So the effect that I cannot come is brought upon by the cause that I'm unwell. So you see the principle that we use because even in colloquial English also, the same thing that is applicable when you use the word cause.
Right.
So when we define the word cause, Aristotle presented four explanations, four definitions for cause, four types of cause, if I may. Now, only two of this is relevant to what we're going to talk about. And this is material cause and efficient cause.
Okay.
So let me use the example of this table right here. So this table was made by a carpenter and it was made out of whatever sort of wood it was made out of. So you have wood and the carpenter. The wood is the material cause out of which this is constructed.
Right.
And the carpenter would be the efficient cause. So the person who brought this table into existence. The table was brought into existence out of wood material.
Right. Through the carpenter's
Through the carpenter's work. And he is the efficient cause to it.
Right.
So the way this connects to the Kalam is that
ray of light coming, guys.
Sunlight come through, ray of hope. So the way this connects to the Kalam is that when we say that everything that began to exist has a cause, we're granting the fact that everything that began to exist at least had a material cause or an efficient cause. Either one of this has to be there. So that is what the premise one says, and that is what connects the premise one to the definition of the cause. So when we say that everything that began to exist has a cause, it just simply means that it will have at least a material cause. Like even if there is no efficient agency to make something happen, it will at the least have some sort of material cause. Now, if you're talking about abstract stuff, then it will have at least an efficient cause. Okay, abstract things are intangible stuff. Numbers are intangible. They're abstract.
Right.
So they don't have a material existence. But then do they have an efficient cause working behind them of sort? So if you look at abstract stuff or if you are looking at material elements and stuff, you will have to grant that at least you need to have maybe a material cause, even if you remove an agent out of the picture, or there will be an agent involved. So that is basically how we're going to look at when we ask the question.
Let's just back up a second
Yeah.
because we're getting a little bit too into the jargon, the terminologies and stuff. So we want to make sure what exactly you mean by agent. So what do you mean? What is an agent?
An agent could be like in this carpenter's example.
Yeah.
The carpenter is the agent,
Mm.
as in someone with the willpower to bring about something.
Okay.
Okay, a being with. Now you can. I think you can even like put in an animal as an agent,
Right.
right? Because the carpenter is not the wood.
Okay.
The table is made out of the wood,
Right.
which is why the wood is the material cause.
Mm-hmm.
But who is constructing the table out of the wood?
Right.
The carpenter.
The carpenter.
If you take, I think there are, I forgot the name of these types of birds that weave their own nest to this most intricate design.
Right.
They're using hay, piece of hay to weave it.
Mm.
So the piece of hay is the material cause. And what is the efficient cause? That bird. So we are not saying that a bird has a mind or a rational mind like a human being, but it is in a sense an agent that is bringing about the effect, which is the final nest.
Right.
So the reason why this distinction is important is that at some point people will say, well, maybe there was some sort of primordial stuff out of which the universe came.
Mm.
So you're talking about a material cause.
Primordial soup.
Primordial means something that is before the beginning. Primordial. That's what the word.
Primordial. Okay.
And when we say God, they will be like, oh, you can't have God. So then they're talking about in the sense of an efficient cause, an agent involved. Which way we are bringing the distinction to sort of later down, we want to point out and ask, okay, what are you actually saying? You're saying that the universe has pre-existing matter out of which the universe just came. Like no one did anything. There is no one, no agent, no efficient cause there.
It's like saying that the wood made the table.
Yeah. So when you say
Out
like,
of
it
wood.
just happened out of itself, you're asking. So you're saying there's a material cause.
Right.
Now, if they say there is some other, some sort of higher species of aliens involved, then we say, okay, you're saying there's an efficient cause. So that distinction helps us in narrowing it down.
Yeah. Plus, also, it doesn't help to say that aliens created the universe.
Yeah. So that is the whole.
Because
other issue.
again, you're still proving that someone there was an agent behind the universe, right?
Yeah. So again, they will be trying to avoid God out of it.
Yeah.
Or what could be the characteristics of the cause of the universe.
Right.
But this definition comes into play when we are trying to narrow down the terminologies of cause and others. Now, when you normally go with the Kalam, for example, when a primed philosopher stands to defend the Kalam, they won't go down defining material and efficient specifically. Because once the moment you say cause, the audience gets it. The audience sitting there would be philosophically inclined towards it, so they get the idea. And the dialogue can go very complex. The reason I'm taking it down and breaking it down to material and efficient is to narrow it down things when we use terms like nothing. There it gets confusing.
Yeah.
When you say nothing and it gets complex. So that is why I'm initially breaking it down into material and efficient, pointing towards matter and then agent working on matter.
Right.
To sort of clear out what we're going to get into later.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I've even heard these atheist philosophers say that nothing is not really nothing. It's actually something in reality. And that itself is just so confusing. Right? How is nothing something? What do you mean by that? That's so crazy, right? Anyway, so what does denying this premise one look like? It is, again, everything that has began to exist has a cause. So what does denying that look like?
So let's look at the table again. So when I say that this table began to exist has a cause, okay, the table had began to exist and therefore it has a cause, you're saying it at least has a wood where this table is made out of, or at the very minimum there's an agent working to bring about this table into existence. When you say that you're denying premise one, that everything that began to exist has a cause, what you're saying is that things can come into being with no cause whatsoever.
Okay.
Right? So there was never. So this table just came out to be. No one worked on this table to bring it about.
Right.
And there was no pre-existing wood out of which this table was made. This table appeared as is. So it wasn't that there was some wood lying around and with no agent working behind it. It just simply came about as of itself. Like nothing, not even nature working, not even laws of the laws of nature working, just came about.
Yeah, with the combined powers of nature and gravity, it just like floated together. Not even that.
Yeah, not even that. So you're moving any form of efficient agent
Cause,
in there. Efficient cause in there.
No agency.
Yeah. So to say that, to deny premise one is basically saying that this table just literally popped into existence. It just came.
Right.
No material cause, no efficient cause, no sort of cause whatsoever.
Right. Oh my. Now it actually really makes sense why you define cause. Because before that, if you would think about denying that everything that began to exist had a cause, it would leave some room for speculation. But because you've defined what material cause and efficient cause is, then that means if you were to deny that anything that began to exist had zero cause at all,
Material and
that,
efficient both.
yeah, both. So the material is the wood didn't exist, and efficient, it had no one to build the
Table out of.
table itself.
Yeah.
None of those exist. So that means it definitely just popped into existence. So essentially, what that means is if you're denying premise one, then essentially you have to be crazy.
Yeah. You just have to say that things can just out of nowhere. That is
Yeah.
what out of nowhere is. That is why I have to
Right.
specify it material and stuff.
Yeah.
This table is made out of wood.
Yeah.
So when you say that this can come out of nowhere, you're saying that it doesn't even have a material cause.
Right.
Which is why specifying the distinction between material and efficient becomes easier as a lay person trying to grab with it. Because when I learned initially cause and then I came across material and efficient, I was confused. Wait, so does that mean we could have a material cause and still say no cause? But when I went back and took this definition back to my studies and restudied it, then made much more sense. So
Right.
now the
No cause
argument-
means
no cause means. And I've seen people respond to the kalam and miss out on this distinction on when you say no cause, you mean no cause. You mean
Right.
no material, no efficient cause whatsoever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That just blew my mind.
So now let me get to a very interesting part, right? What does the word nothing mean? What
Okay.
would be a simple way to present it?
Okay, I would say nothing means no thing, right? So it is the absence of anything, of something.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're saying a lot of things. But essentially, it means that in a certain space, if you say that there is nothing, okay, so to be honest, if you say there's nothing in this
Tumbler.
tumbler, yeah, I forgot what it's called. There's nothing in this tumbler, then that means it lacks a particular substance. There's no water in it.
Yeah.
But you know that there are air particles
Yep.
and dust maybe in it. Despite even if you've washed it, it's going to have dust.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, so you do have something, but relative to what it's supposed to have, it has nothing. So we have kind of like that relative nothing, but in an absolute sense, right? If you're just looking at it in a whole, nothing in its very core definition means the absence of something.
Yeah.
Maybe in the universe, absence of anything at all.
Yeah, you're spot on. Now, let me give you a simpler way to put this across.
Okay.
What do rocks think of?
Ah, right. Nothing. Yeah.
That's just basically it.
Yeah.
So, like you said, this nuance of relative nothingness, like when we mean by the term relatively to nothing, as in, well, there is air particles, so air particle is something as such. It's good that you touched upon that point because that touches into something else later. So there is that distinction that we have when we use the term nothing. There is that sense of free when we use the term nothing in our normal usage. Like, is there something in the bottle? No, there's nothing. But you don't open up and say, haha, there is air in it. No one does that. But when you talk about something like, where did reality come from? What is the source of space, time, and matter? You can't have that freeway with the word nothing as you would have with something in a tumbler. And the interesting thing is that this distinction was completely missed by Lawrence Krauss when he wrote the book A Universe from Nothing. And he used the word nothing but redefined it to mean something and was trying to push it to the lay reader as, oh, the universe from nothing. But his nothing was actually something.
Right. What was it? What was that something?
Essentially, it had properties.
Okay.
So if I go into it, we're going to get a scientific in a definition.
Okay,
But
okay.
he was looking at something. If something has properties,
Okay.
then that is not nothing.
It's not nothing anymore. Yeah.
It is something because it
But
has got
nothing
properties.
has the property of having nothing.
No, because what is there to have a property?
Okay. Like nothing in itself, when we're defining it, that is a property of what nothing is.
Yeah, but what is the thing you're defining about? Is there a thing to define in the first place?
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, it's an absence. Like it's an absence of thing.
Yeah.
So there isn't even a thing to define as to ascribe any property in the first place.
Okay.
So the thing is now, as you are listening, you're trying to grapple with it. People like Alex O'Connor, a skeptic that I really admire, cosmic skeptic, when he interviewed Dr. Craig, he also missed out on this key distinction. Dr. Craig immediately responded to it and called him out on that understanding that he had with the word nothing.
Right.
So a way, if you are in a conversation with the person and you want to highlight the fact that nothing actually means just absence of anything, look at this. Here's an example. Nothing stopped Hitler's advance into Poland.
Right.
Okay, and the person hearing it says, "Wow, phew, Poland is safe." And you're like, "What do you mean by Poland is safe?" Well, nothing stopped. Nothing stopped Hitler's advance into Poland. And you're like, "What do you mean by?" So he'll be like, "Well, nothing stopped it." Like, now
Right.
what does it actually mean?
Oh my gosh, and that would be even more confusing now because there's an actual company called Nothing, right? So that is so if you actually say nothing stopped, like maybe the iPhone or the AirPods or something, yeah, they have their Nothing earbuds or something like that. Oh my
So-
gosh, it'll be so confusing for those who don't know what it is. Nothing is essentially this Chinese manufacturer, just like Apple. They're making like earbuds and stuff like that. So now saying nothing has meaning. It is something.
It is a
So
company, it's a
it is a company. So nothing, yeah, something at that time. Nothing was the company stopped Hitler
So-
from advancing into Poland.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Unnecessary digression.
That is unnecessary. That's what came into my mind when you said nothing stopped because yeah, nothing, that company stopped him.
So in that quick example, that what we immediately point out is that the absurdity of trying to make sense of nothing to do something. Right? When we say nothing stopped Hitler, just like you said, there is nothing that stopped Hitler.
Right.
So it sounds mundane to me itself when I am like explaining this. Like it's so obvious. But the thing is, this is something that is missed out by some of the best thinkers out there. Like someone like Alex O'Connor, who is diving into atheism. He's studying. He completed his theology degree from Oxford. Brilliant guy. Debating Frank Turek, interviewing Dr. Craig, debating recently Trent Horn. It is something that gets missed out of by some of the best brains out there. The distinction of what we exactly mean by nothing. So when you say that the universe came out of nothing, you're saying that there was absolutely no cause. There was no thing whatsoever material efficient. There was no thing whatsoever that brought the universe into existence. This is
Right.
why we use that terminology like it popped into existence. Like it's like magic. It just
Right.
came out of nowhere. Nothing working behind it, nothing of that sort. And once you understand what the word nothing means, the fact, like you said, there is no property to it, then we get into the defense of premise one. It becomes very clear that it is really, really, really hard to sensibly say that premise one is false. It is very hard to sensibly say that things can come into existence just out of nothing.
Right.
So when we say everything
Okay.
that begins to exist has a cause, we're saying that things cannot come into exist uncaused out of nothing.
Right.
There must be some form of a cause whatsoever. And this gets very nuanced when we talk about the universe itself. The universe having a beginning in past eternity, in our recent past, not going eternal, but couple of billion years ago, and so on and so forth. So that is just sort of an overview of the term nothing. And I hope we were able to break it down and get it to a sensible point. So nothing is what rocks think of, basically that. And we talked about cause, right? A table has a material cause, which is the wood, and then the carpenter, who is the efficient cause. So when you say everything that began to exist has a cause, you're saying that it at least has a material or an efficient cause. And denying that means that there are things that begin to exist, that come into existence uncaused whatsoever. No material cause, no efficient cause, absolutely purely out of nothing. Now,
Right.
if you say something like a vacuum is a physical thing. It has properties. This tumbler has vacuum air that is keeping the air aside. Which way you're able to distinguish a vacuum from air. You're able to understand the properties of the vacuum. So this vacuum isn't nothing in the sense we understand core nothing. It is nothing in the sense maybe like there is no water in there, or there is
There's
any
no air particles.
there's no air particles. But it has properties of its own, which is why it isn't nothing. So it's a very nuanced,
Still occupies space.
still occupies space. So like I said, these are all properties of vacuum,
Vacuum.
which makes it really hard to say that a vacuum is nothing. But then we will dive into the rest of it in the coming episodes.
Yeah.
We'll look at some of the objections raised. What are the 3 reasons to say premise 1 is true? And I hope this was able to sort of get you taste into how we're going to go into it. So I hope you will stick with us for the rest of the episodes.
Yeah, I mean,
hope we haven't
I
scared you
loved
off.
it.
We haven't scared you off, thankfully.
Yeah. No, I think it's been extremely scintillating, or extremely
Scintillating.
illuminating for all of us. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much, Jacob, and thank you so much, you guys. for sticking with us for this episode of the SAF podcast. And stick around with us when we explain all of this. And please follow our socials at SAF Apologetics on every platform except for TikTok, because TikTok's banned here. So. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. I'm sorry. Yeah, YouTube. And yeah, check out our podcast on any popular streaming audio.
Actually, on any platform.
On any platform.
Any platform. We're actually there on 19 platforms.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I didn't know that. All right. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching, and we'll see you next time.